Or those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal, Democratic people in those files.
I think they visited that Maxwell person.
Yeah.
And also involved.
Got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently, which is against BOP policy because she's a convicted sex offender. They're offering her something to keep it on shut.
That was the acting deputy chief of the Office of Enforcement Operations, Joseph Schnitt, telling a stranger about the FBI and DOJ's handling of the Epstein files. Schnitt, who works at a high level inside the Department of Justice, goes on to comment on the inconsistent statements, special treatment of Ghislaine Maxwell, and the blatant backtracking on promises of transparency.
And what do you do for work again?
I work for the Department of Justice.
Okay.
Been there like 23 years. I'm an analyst. I'll be acting deputy chief of our office for a few months starting next week. I work closely with like all the federal law enforcement agencies and the U.S. attorney's offices, the prosecutors and stuff. The thing is, it's interesting because I do deal with so many of the agencies, like the Bureau of Prisons, the Marshal Service, the FBI, U.S. attorney's offices.
Recently, the FBI and DOJ have come under fire for promising transparency, then refusing to release footage and unredacted documents, going directly against the public's expectations and the promises made by Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel. In a DOJ press release, Attorney General Pam Bondi stated, quote, "This Department of Justice is following through on President Trump's commitment to transparency and lifting the veil on the disgusting actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators," unquote, and also claimed they were shedding light on Epstein's extensive network, only to later claim that Epstein was acting alone, and that the only video evidence they had was of Epstein's personal child porn collection.
Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were.
In the same press release, Kash Patel claimed, quote, "There will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, and no stone left unturned."
So on the Epstein matter or any other matters, we are diligently working on that. I'm not going to withhold information from the American public ever.
Only to later claim on Joe Rogan's podcast that releasing any videos would re-victimize those impacted.
We're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that shit back out there. It's not happening, because then he wins. Not doing it. You want to hate me for it? Fine.
But, internally, there's a lot of, even within the administration, there's internal conflict.
Okay.
Like, the head of FBI really wants it. Second in command at FBI has been, like, causing problems because he's like, no, these have to be released.
Yeah. So the FBI wants them out.
Yep, the top two guys that do that.
And Bonnie does it.
I don't know what Bonnie wants. Bonnie wants whatever Trump wants.
Sure.
Yes, but
Why is there suddenly this internal conflict within the same administration that aggressively campaigned in 2024 to fully release the Epstein files to the American public? What new revelations did the DOJ and FBI make to now say that an incriminating client list does not exist? DOJ analyst Joseph Schnitt comments on these inconsistencies and informs our undercover journalist that even if anything was to be released, it would be heavily redacted in favor of the Republican Party, indicating that this DOJ official, Joseph Schnitt, probably leans Democrat.
Do you think the stuff with Epstein will actually get released or not at all?
if it does, it'll be heavily redacted and his name won't be in it.
Or those files do exist.
There's files,
Yeah.
for sure. There's, thousands and thousands of pages of files. But again, if they're released in any way, it's going to be very redacted. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal, Democratic people in those files, and have a very slanted version of it come out where it's like, look at what he's doing without releasing any of their bad behavior.
This is James O'Keefe. You know me for exposing the truth and holding the powerful accountable. But today, I want to talk to you about protecting your own freedom, starting with your finances. Right now, the warning signs are everywhere. The Fed continues to print money, interest rates and inflation remain high, and everywhere you look, your hard-earned money just doesn't go as far as it used to. That's not your imagination. It's today's reality. If central banks are loading up on gold, why not you? That's why I've now partnered with American Independence Gold. They're veteran-owned, and proceeds from every sale go to Tunnel to Towers, supporting our first responders and heroes. And listen, right now, the first 50 customers get a $1,000 credit towards their account. That's right, $1,000 to help you get started protecting your wealth with real, physical gold. Don't wait for the next crisis. Go to O'KeefeMediaGold.com, that's OKEEFE MediaGold.com, or 833-324-GOLD. Again, that's O'KeefeMediaGold.com or 833-324-GOLD. Take action, get the facts, and protect your future, because freedom isn't given, it's secured. This is James O'Keefe. Don't just watch history, own a piece of it. The conversation then turned towards Ghislaine Maxwell and her highly publicized and unprecedented prison transfer.
I think they visited that Maxwell person
Yeah,
and also involved.
she got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently, which is against BOP policy because she's a convicted sex offender, and they're not supposed to get minimum security prisons, which is an interesting detail because she's getting a benefit, which means they're offering her something to keep it on shut.
The difference between a low security prison and a minimum security prison is that minimum security prisons are designed for non-violent offenders with short sentences. They often have no perimeter fencing, and inmates are housed in dormitory-style rooms. We looked into the Bureau of Prisons policies, and Schnitt's claim is in fact correct. Convicted sex offenders are historically ineligible for minimum security facilities. Schnitt is also very credible by virtue of where he works inside the Department of Justice. This raises significant questions about why Ghislaine Maxwell was provided such special treatment at a time where the DOJ and the FBI are under heavy scrutiny for their handling of the Epstein files. The DOJ and FBI have continually promised transparency to the country. Why was the case's most significant witness transferred to a more comfortable prison life, all while Epstein's victims were still not receiving the justice they deserve? Why does it take a random girl in Washington, D.C. for someone like Joseph Schnitt to open up? Why are top DOJ officials spilling all these secrets in restaurants, while the American people are not necessarily afforded the same transparency that they're promised? It doesn't make any sense. What we're looking for is people on the inside of the government to step forward for your private actions to match your public actions, to stand by the truth. And if you know more about this, please email us at tips@o'keefemediagroup.com or text us at 914-491-9395, and we will tell your story without fear and without favor.